Righto, everybody please stand. Good afternoon everyone, and welcome to all those in the gallery and those of you watching on the live stream for this unscheduled meeting of Swan Hill Rural City Council in April 2026. I declare the meeting open at 1 p.m. Swan Hill Rural City Council acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet and pays its respects to their elders past and present. Councillor Thornton, could you please read the opening declaration?
We, the councillors of Swan Hill Rural City Council, declare that we will undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interests of our community and faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in us to the best of our skills and our judgment.
Thank you. Please be seated. We have an apology today from Councillor Rogers. Could I have somebody to move that, please? Move Councillor Englefield, seconded Councillor Broad. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Directors and officers present today, CEO Scott Barber, Director of Development and Planning Michelle Granger, Director of Community and Cultural Services Bruce Myers, Director of Infrastructure Leah Johnston, Director of Corporate Services Stephen Fernando, Executive Support Tamara Matthews and Executive Assistant Sharon Lindsay. Do we have any disclosures of conflict of interest, councillors? No disclosures. So we'll move right into the purpose of the meeting, which is we only have one agenda item for today, and that is the Murray-Darling Basin Plan Review submission from Swan Hill Rural City Council. Mr CEO, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to talk to this report, but I just wanted to set the context. Water sharing across the Murray-Darling Basin is complicated, with rules, water markets, excuse me, hydrologic considerations and jargon to be understood. At the heart of the plan, all of the rules and an active water market is this. The plan is about compromise and sharing a limited resource, a precious resource, amongst many water users for a range of purposes. Today I'm asking councillors to consider a whole community approach for this decision. The purpose of this report is to provide the Council with the opportunity to endorse a submission to the Murray-Darling Basin Authority's 2026 Basin Plan Review discussion paper. The Murray-Darling Basin Plan is currently under review by the Murray-Darling Basin Authority. As part of this process, a discussion paper was released in February 2026. The MDBA is seeking public feedback and it's closing on the 1st of May 2026. Councillors and individuals are also encouraged to make their own submissions and have been by the Council. A copy of the discussion paper can be found on the MDBA website. The purpose of a local government submission is to examine ongoing community challenges and propose potential solutions considering the effects to the whole community as a direct or indirect result of changes to the irrigation industry and environmental wellbeing of the local riverine environment. As the level of government closest to community, Council sees firsthand how the basin policy settings affect households, farms, businesses, water-dependent recreation and the environment. We believe that local government is a critical partner to be consulted about the basin plan impacts on rural communities, effectiveness in practice, minimisation of socio-economic impacts and influencing required federal government support for industries that must transition because of ongoing water reforms. Excuse me. This review provides an opportunity to refine what has worked, address areas requiring improvement and set clear direction that supports healthy working rivers alongside sustainable food and fibre production and thriving basin communities, including those within the Swan Hill Rural City Council municipality. Council's central position is that Basin Plan must now shift from a focus on accumulation of water volumes through to an outcomes-based framework. Rather than measuring success by the volumes of water recovered, the plan must define clear, measurable ecological and socio-economic objectives and invest in the most cost-effective pathways to achieve those. This approach aligns with the Council's 2019 position that basin plan management must be optimised to maximise benefits to the community, agriculture and the environment, supported by transparency in water markets, effective delivery of environmental water and genuine consideration of socio-economic impacts. The submission has been prepared based on work undertaken through the Murray River Group of Councils, and the Swan Hill Rural City Council version presented today is more concise and refers to local issues. We've listed 12 recommendations and I will take it that they have been read by councillors. I ask that the councillors endorse the submission to the Murray-Darling Basin Authority's 2026 Basin Plan Review discussion paper with some agreed changes which are outlined in the recommendation and will be on screen in a moment as per option 2. I'll take the rest of the submission as read and request council considers the recommendation. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Barber. Are there any questions for the CEO around the report, around the submission? Councillor Thornton?
Thank you for the report, Mr Barber. Would appreciate that the community understands the frontier economics work that's been carried out through the Murray River Group of Councils and how that's been funded. I believe there's been a grant that's funded that report.
Yeah, that's correct, Councillor Thornton. So Regional Development Australia has contributed a significant amount of money, and Shepparton Council has put in money as well. And then there was a small amount from the individual councils of the Murray River Group of Council to undertake that piece of work, which took 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you.
If there's no further questions, could I ask for a motion? Councillor McPhee?
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. I'll move the motion as per the recommendation, which is coming up on the screen, which is to adopt the strategy with the proposed amendments.
Thank you, and they've been circulated and they're on the screen, so I'll take those as read without having to go through them. Thank you. Move Councillor McPhee. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Seconded Councillor Thornton. Councillor McPhee, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Yes, look, a lot of work has gone into this. I'd like to thank and congratulate the Murray River Group of Councils for the work they've put in. It's good to work regionally in relation to this. That's how the Murray River Group of Councils first formed, was over water many, many years ago, and Shepparton was part of that in the initial phase. They've come back on board for this submission to the Murray-Darling Basin Plan. It is a very important thing for our area, and unfortunately a lot of people within our community, within the towns, don't take a lot of notice of it. I would encourage them to have some interest in it, because it's farmers are across it, irrigators are across it a lot more than some of the townspeople. It has a big impact on all our municipalities. Since man has got involved in changing the water flows of all our rivers with dams and all this sort of stuff, we've got to make sure that we get the balance right, as the CEO said initially, between the environment, the food security, the agricultural sector and our communities at large, to make sure that we get the best use and the most efficient use and keep our river systems healthy. That's what the Murray-Darling Basin Plan is all about, and I certainly hope that we, and certainly can say that we will. We've been looking at this for a lot of years, and we will continue to look at this a lot of years. This will evolve over the years as well. This isn't the end of the thing. This is one of our first submissions we've put into the plan. Obviously, there'll be reviews at different stages throughout, and I think it's important the council keep a front foot in relation to this. But I would encourage people to get on. When these submissions are all out or submitted to the authority, they will be public records. Anyone can go on and look at anyone's submission and look at all the documents in relation to that, the documents that are referred to in this submission we have as well. So I'd encourage people to have a look. I think it's a great point to start off with, to make sure that it's localised, some of the points that we've raised in this submission, and I'd just like to thank the effort that all councillors and staff have put into getting to this stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McPhee. Councillor Thornton, you wish to speak?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to dedicate this, my submission or response to the late Mr Jack Larkins, who was a wonderful former farmer at Boundary Bend and an ex-Shire councillor. He was a wonderful man and dedicated to the Murray-Darling Basin Association, which at the time, and driven by Jack's foresight, was dedicated to coordinating the management of all the states together to build a healthier river. And I'd also like to acknowledge the First Nations people of our communities and across our municipality who have ongoing connection to the river since colonisation and have been dispossessed considerably of water from that area. Look, I've always been a supporter of the Basin Plan. Rivers for generations is a noble cause, and we are constantly being reminded of when we over-extract, there are fish kills. climate change is impacting the temperature of our oceans and the inflows into our river system, and so it will drive how we are able to utilise that resource into the future. We live in a community that truly values the river and acknowledges how it sustains us. And I feel that the Basin Plan does support our way of life. It does support irrigation, and it does support the recreation and our healthy well-being and livability in our community. Our community wholeheartedly supports irrigation, but also passionately supports a healthy river system, swimming, fishing in our rivers and lakes, and all that we've enjoyed in our growing up. We want it to continue for future generations. There's a lot in this review discussion paper that has not been touched on in our submission, and there is a huge body of work that, including research that's happened in the last 10 years, work specifically done also by the MDBA to support the review. Interestingly, when you review the 2019 position paper of Council, many of the recommendations and assertions that were made, or asks that were made in that paper, have actually been done. So that was interesting to note. Whilst there has been socio-economic impact, we have been quite resilient. And our own piece of work that was commissioned in 2020, which was the irrigated crops of the Swan Hill LGA, showed that we have increased our irrigable area and our production whilst having to contend with water availability because of reform. And there has been support for irrigation along the way. People who have chosen to sell water have been compensated, and efficiency programs have helped us to modernise our irrigation system. I think we've got a strong submission here that does reflect the work that Council has done to date on the Basin Plan, and I appreciate and will look forward to working together with my fellow councillors and the community, the broad community, our ratepayers and people within the Swan Hill LGA to make sure that we understand the broader issues of water reform and a healthy river.
Thank you, Councillor Thornton. Any other speakers for or against the motion? Councillor Englefield.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to speak for the motion. I'd like to highlight two particular elements of our submission, though. The first one being systems constraints, which is an issue for the whole of the basin. We've highlighted the choke in our submission, the Barmah choke in our submission, but not limited to the Barmah choke, as I've said myself at other forums. There's one thing having all of this water to do all of these beauty environmental things with, but if you can't deliver it, it's not much value to you. And the same can be said for irrigators as well. There's no point having high value, high security water licences or even temporarily trading water if you can't access it because of the system constraints. So, I see now we've reached a point where we really need to focus, or the Murray-Darling Basin Review and Commission really needs to focus on the overall system constraints of the total river. The second one that's really important on a local level, I don't think people really understand the impacts of the water buybacks that have taken place and the 3,000 odd gigs that's been removed from consumptive use. You don't see it because it's one of those nebulous things. It's economic growth that you've missed out on, so you don't realise that you haven't seen it. And communities all along the river have suffered loss, and that loss is in the towns as well, in jobs and in business and all of those sorts of things. And while we may be a net importer of water over the water changes that have occurred, this municipality, the reality is the entire basin has actually had a net loss in economic activity, and we've had a net loss in economic activity in our older irrigation areas, which have, I would suggest, suffer severely from water reform and the cost of water, and you've only got to drive around north to south of Swan Hill and you'll see it. So I see those two things as really quite important. I'd like to see greater constraints, money spent on system constraints, and I'd also like to see the Commonwealth Government put more effort, emphasis and cash funds into the economic damage that's been caused to local communities.
Thank you, Councillor Englefield. Are there any other speakers to the motion? Councillor Jennings.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Concur with those comments made by my fellow councillors, but I think we can locally see firsthand the effects of what water buybacks or water accumulation has been, and Councillor Inglefield touched on it at the finish there, particularly in the areas of dried off farming areas where that water has been sold off, and those farmers have made the decision to cash their chips, make more out of selling their water than they could out of production. So we can see that firsthand, whereas, you know, in a lot of other areas they may not see the implications of these buybacks. Having said that, when I read the report, I think it identifies that we've been through this accumulation phase of accumulating the water, and we're now in a position where we can fairly and equitably distribute it to all stakeholders. But I think in a local context that I'd like the outcome that I'd like to see is that there is more benefit returned to the communities where that water has been taken away from, and if that's in infrastructure or other projects, or just some recognition of the effects that the water buybacks, the water taken away has made to our areas. So I think that I agree with Councillor Thornton. There's enough water there for everybody. It's how we manage it, how we utilise it, and, you know, even getting down to wet and dry years and following natural flows and doing some of those sorts of things, as in not needing to necessarily use water for environment in a wet year. Keep that in the bank for drier purposes. So there's lots of things to consider, but as I said, I believe that we've been through the phase of accumulation. Now we need to look at the best outcomes for all stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jennings. Any other speakers to the motion? If there's no other speakers to the motion, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? The motion is carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. And just to wrap up, I would like to thank my fellow mayors and the fellow CEOs in the Murray River Group of Councils, and particularly Jeff Turner, who's the Executive Officer of the Murray River Group of Councils, for the work that's been done. Thank Shepparton as well for coming on board as part of this work and contributing to the Frontier Economics work, which has formed the backbone of Swan Hill's submission, and as we've talked about, linked in some local factors into the Swan Hill Rural City Council submission. It's important for people to remember that doing these types of submissions and reports is not the core business of council. However, water is a very important and precious resource for our community, so that's why it's important that we get involved as council and encourage, as Councillor Thornton said, encourage our community to get involved in these issues as well, because it really is the lifeblood of our economy. So thank you, councillors, for your endorsement today and for all of the work that has been done in the background. That being the only agenda item for today, I will now conclude the meeting. Thank you everybody for your attendance in the gallery and on the live stream. Meeting is closed at 1:18 p.m.